What's happening, everybody? Juan here out in the garage. And hopefully I don't break anything along the way. As always, something has to change when I'm doing this. So, work it out. Because I'm excited about it. Love it when a plan comes together. Alright, I'm going to try very hard to record this. Got my phone balanced on my thigh, so hopefully it'll work. This is my first test of my new mechanism that I made. Obviously, this is the air cylinder. Over here would be to air it down. Over here is to air it up. I think I'm going to put a spring on here to hold it so that the weight is not too much. But that's it going up. All right, so I think I got my mechanism down. The hardest thing was figuring out, based on the length of this throw, which this one is actually only 1.5 inches. I have another one coming. I thought this was 2. I have another one that's 2 inches, and I'll be able to play with it a little bit, possibly. But this works. So I created this here and put all these different holes, and there's threaded rod going into it, so I would have a fair amount of adjustability. So now I can actually, if I want, take this off and cut it, and so that it's just this end here and not all this extra, because that's just extra weight in steel. I drilled a hole through here and put a threaded or put a cap screw in there, so this piece actually slides off of the center stand itself. But yeah. As you can see here, I fashioned a mount for it to mount. It's actually mounting currently in the kickstand bump stop mount. I've got both sides of the actual arm supported with a bolt. This fits down into the bump stop mount. I bent it at the bottom just so I can be able to kind of hold it where I want it to be height-wise, because it can move up and down in there. I put rubber bushings in there because as this arm goes through its stroke, it's mounted like this. As it moves up and down as the arm goes through its stroke, because at the end there's something rotational. So it's low, high, low. So this thing has to be able to move up and down like so when it's going through its stroke. So I put the rubber bushings on there to accommodate for that movement. I don't know if you can see it moving right now. Moving it with my hand a little bit. It doesn't have to go much. I'm going to swap these fittings out for some 90-degree angle ones, so that the airline isn't come straight off the top. It'll go at an angle, probably up and to the right, like so. That way it fits more neatly in that space. There's my threaded rod. This bolt acts as a bumper behind here on the backside, and then got the nut for the front side to lock it in. I actually still have a couple others coming to the house. They'll probably be here this weekend sometime, just to test, see if I can do something a little different. I think this is going to work just fine, but I'd rather have more than less, and these things are not very expensive, anywhere from like $15 to $25. So I've got like a whole box of different actuator arms. And I actually want to see if I can do one electric if I can find one this size, because I'd like to have the option of being electric versus air as well. So, still working on it. Hey, girl. She makes an appearance in the videos once in a while. So, that's what we're looking like right now. Put it all together and give it an initial test. See what it looks like. All right, this is temporarily plumbed with a temporary switch. Compressor's going, it's gonna be loud. There's a bit of an air leak here. This is temporary, so it's not staying on. This just shows the actuator, that's up, down, up, down. Got a mount that's got rubber bushings in there to allow for the up and down motion of the actuator that's necessary as it goes through its stroke. And I can actually slow this rate down a little bit. It doesn't have to move that fast. That's my first test with air actually going to the system. I've just got to get, for this temporary thing, wherever the air is coming out, I got to take care of the air leak. So the pump goes off and I maintain pressure inside, because it's not even holding all the pressure. It's leaking so bad. So far, so good. All right, let's see if we can get this test going. Up position, down, up, down, obviously. And that, folks, is my final design for the center stand. As you can see, this center stand is far wider than the ones that you typically see on the Harleys. They go underneath. They are actually inside of the frame rails and quite narrow, even if the feet come out sideways. And I wanted to design this one to be wider than the frame, just to give a wider stance. The manual one that I made was based off one of the Harley style ones, and it was just too narrow. I didn't like it, so I decided to go with this concept. The hard part was just trying to get the mechanism on the outside of the frame. So I'm going to go back and take this whole thing apart. I'm either going to clean up these welds or just add more material here to clean that up. Then I'm going to powder coat it black to protect it against the elements, and do a permanent mount for the a permanent mount for this bracket. I'm also going to put a spring on it, so in the event there's a failure of the air, it will still be able to spring up. Here, let me put it down, or put it up, I should say. And the last thing also is it hangs down about 1/4 inch more than I want it to. I want it to come up this far. So I'm going to put the spring on there to help hold it up. And what this is doing is actually moving the mount, you see there? So I have the rubber bushings in there to take the vibration and allow for the flex that I need. But the throw of this would actually need to be about 1/4 inch longer to effectively go all the way down, all the way back up to where I want it here. And then I would just change this mount in some way to accommodate it. But I'm actually very cool with the way it is now. You see it barely hangs below the bike, about 3/4 of an inch here. But again, I'm going to put a spring just to get it up to about there. But I will have no issues. This is actually probably lower than ride height, but very close to ride height. Plenty of clearance under there. I'm not worried about that little bit. And I'm going to change this from 1/4 inch line to 5/32 DOT line, just because it's more pliable and easier to move up and through there. It's all just temporarily plumbed right now for the lines. But I'm really, really happy to be finally done with this whole concept and design. I don't need all this extra material here, so I'm probably going to cut that down, because this is just extra steel that needs to be rotated around and it's unnecessary. But yep, I'm finally done with that design. Once I permanently mount this, finito with that. I'll just make it pretty and then put it all back together. And then on to finishing up the bodywork and paint. Woo-wee! Yes, indeed. But that is my concept. I love it. Came up with the whole thing myself, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. It's good stuff right there.